Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was in Kuroko's basketball's universe, part 5, subscribe if you enjoy the video, let's start the story. Oh, that's a relief. It looks like I haven't missed much. Agamichiko was like a little kid on Christmas as she walked into the large room where the first quarter-final game of the Inter-High was being held. She had a pair of dark sunglasses on, but even in the crowded arena she could see pretty well. She had two aides with her, or bodyguards if you will. They always accompanied her at all times. Another way to put it, they were like her secretaries. One of these two men was Yuki's father, Sugawara Eiji. He was well built for a man of his age. He had dark hair and dark stern eyes. From that, anyone could see that Yuki didn't get her looks from him, but rather her mother. Oh, but things are looking so serious already. Michiko found herself a seat at the very top of the viewing area. Her two aides sat next to her. It wasn't exactly comfortable to be in such a crowded area with suits, but they would bear with it. Eiji glanced down to find his daughter. It didn't take him long. She really stood out down there. Michiko giggled like a schoolgirl as she pulled out a camera and started taking picture after picture of Naruto, who was glaring right at Amon. Why Naruto looks so serious? He's so different from usual. It's adorable. She squealed some, causing other nearby audience members to look at her like she was crazy. Her other aide sweat dropped. Kaguya-sama, I know that you're excited to see your son play live for the first time. But this is. Couldn't she be a little bit more dignified? She was the head of a company, after all. Hey? Don't start lecturing me, Hiroji. The woman almost pouted. I made sure to get all my work done just so that I could come all the way out here for this. I haven't even been able to see my son for most of the summer. Don't ruin this moment for me. Practice and matches had kept Naruto out of the house after his team got to qualify for the Inter-High. After that, he had to come all the way to the city for the tournament. He was lodging at a hotel with the rest of his teammates, which meant he hadn't been home for almost a week now. That's why Michiko was so excited for today. She was able to see her baby boy for the first time in over a week. She was glad Yuki had texted her about this. Ito Hiroji, the other aide, looked like he wanted to say something else. He was a rather timid-looking fellow. The exact opposite of Eiji. But he had still managed to climb his way to this position, even with all the competition. That's why he was able to have confidence in himself, despite what his looks would suggest. Just drop it, Hiroji, Eiji spoke up. Let Kaguya-sama have this moment. The attention isn't on us, after all. No, it was on the players down in the court. Hiroji sighed, but relented, saying nothing else. Michiko smiled as she snapped more pictures. Now, Naruto. Let me see you play. Unaware of his mother's presence in the arena, Naruto glared directly at Amon, who was staring back at him, and Kai's. Is that what you're going to do? Fight me together? Ha, don't make me laugh. You've gotten soft, Kai's. He narrowed his eyes somewhat. Or is it that you've started thinking like Tetsu after losing to him? Don't misunderstand the situation, Ayamaneki, Kai's responded with a half smile. I'm only doing everything in my power to defeat you. I don't have any other incentive but that. Although, if Kai's was being honest, he had come to respect Kuroko's way of thinking. That had no bearing in this match, though. In the end, it just had to do with his selfish desire to win against Amon for the first time. Stop worrying about such pointless things, Naruto said as he made his way back to the others. If there's anything else you have to say, then say it on the court. Otherwise, shut up. Eyes pouted as he followed his friend. That just means, Izumakiki. I was trying to be cool there, you know. That's what makes you so uncool. That hurts my feelings. Like I care, Dumbus. Eyes could only cry more. He was always being mistreated. Amon watched them go. He had to laugh a little at the sight. They were certainly amusing, he would give them that. They even had more skill than he had anticipated. Stealing the ball from him like that just got his blood pumping. It looks like I might be able to play harder this time. He couldn't ask for more. On the side, Momoy noticed Amon's change of attitude. While he had been sort of interested when facing Kuroko, he hadn't been outright excited either. If anything, he had become disappointed almost immediately. But now this went beyond excitement. She couldn't describe it. But she knew one thing. Amon wasn't going to play easy for this game. Yuki was just happy to see that Naruto was no longer annoyed. Playing like that would just lead to mistakes. Alright, we can keep going like this, the coach said next to her. Kai's and Uzumaki seemed to be on board with the strategy too. Understand? Understand what, sensei? The girl asked, not understanding. The coach just smiled, though. You'll see soon enough. She would indeed. Even with that surprising turnaround, the game was only just starting. Wakamatsu had the ball and was looking to throw it in. He was scowling as he passed it to Imeashi. Don't get ahead of yourselves just because you managed to stop Amon once, you shitheads. Being underestimated like this really pissed Wakamatsu off. Now, there's no reason to act so rashly, Imeashi said, as he started to slowly dribble the ball down the court. We should take it easy. He was stopped right before he could cross the center line by Kasamatsu, who looked more than determined to get another turnaround. Capitalizing on Naruto's small victory against Amon would be a sure way to take the first quarter for themselves. Imeashi knew this well. That's why he needed to crush that hope right away. The two captains had a small stare-off before Imeashi went on the attack. He tried to dribble past Kasamatsu, but the Kagem captain wasn't going to let that happen so easily. He might not have as tight a defense as Nakamura, but he still made sure to keep up the pressure. This guy Imeashi frowned somewhat as he stopped for a moment. He's really serious about this, huh? So bothersome. Going so serious so early in the game, expecting something different from them would be ridiculous too. Imeashi went on the move again, only this time it wasn't to get around Kasamatsu. He yielded this small defeat, but it wasn't like he was going to give up the game either. He threw a quick pass to Wakamatsu, who was open. With the ball in hand, the center quickly charged for the basket. A quick attack was the only way to catch Kagem off guard. He knew this well, but like before Kobori stood in his way. Unlike before, though, Wakamatsu was in a better position to attack. He did a rather quick spin to get around, which caught Kobori off guard. Centers who could move this swiftly were rare. He still managed to jump in time to mount a defense against Wakamatsu's attack, though. But that did little good, as Wakamatsu was able to get his layup in time to score. It wasn't as exciting as before, but the end result was the same. TMM had just paid Kagem back. It looks like TMM has more than enough strength to push forward, Kiyoshi noted, impressed by Wakamatsu's performance. Stopping them here would have been a great benefit to Kagem, Raiko said, her eyes narrowed. But don't get so excited, you fools. Kasamatsu didn't waste throwing the ball back in, right into Naruto's hands. And it was he who stood before Amon this time, not Kai's. Looks like they're taking the direct approach, Raiko finished, not surprised by Kasamatsu's pass. But she was surprised by this change. Down on the court, everything seemed to stop for a second. Even Amon was a little surprised. He hadn't noticed Naruto and Kai's changing marks, but here it was. Naruto, facing off against him. What's going on? Imeashi was confused. He was certain Kai's would be sticking against Amon. But this was. Kagami leaned forward in his seat in anticipation. So it's a one-on-one Uzumaki versus Amon. It would be their first clash with no outside interference. Kai stood by Susa. The blonde didn't look annoyed or anything. No, he was focused. More focused than he had ever been before. This strategy left him feeling a little sour since it looked like he was retreating. But that couldn't be helped. It was like he had said earlier. He wanted to win here. He was willing to do anything for that. Amon didn't let this bug him for long, though. Instead, he grinned. Bring it, Uzumaki. Naruto didn't answer. He dribbled the ball for a second or so before every muscle in his body tensed. Amon could see it. The moment of attack was coming. It was almost like wind had gathered around the Uzumaki as he quickly took off to the right in a straightforward drive, just like Kai's had attempted. But Amon was right there, blocking his path. In response, Naruto dribbled the ball harder to make it bounce higher than before. It did, shooting to the left. Momoy gasped again. That's. With his quick reaction time, Naruto grabbed the airborne ball and bolted to the left, where it was open. Not bad. If Amon was shocked to see his own movements used against him like this, he didn't let it bother him. Instead, he swiftly backpedaled to his right, exactly where Naruto was. Naruto's show of speed was doing nothing to slow him down. It's no use. Yuki thought with wide eyes. He can't get around. Yeah, that's pretty much it, a smiling Imeashi thought. Working together might produce a better result, but if he's alone, there's no way Uzumaki can. The words were drowned from his mind when Naruto pulled off a second fake. He tossed the ball behind his back. It was through this that he was able to catch it with his right hand again before he shot back to his original path. Amon saw the movements and aimed to cut him off again. But Naruto had moved so perfectly that he was a split of a second too late to react in time. That's all Naruto needed. He was able to get past Amon, at which point he went right for the basket. That's just Imeashi was frozen in place, disbelief visible on his face. The other TMM players had similar reactions. Only Amon didn't let this stop him, as he quickly chased after Naruto, who was already making to jump for the dunk. Don't think it's that easy. Amon shouted as he jumped to slam the ball down. A small grin reached Naruto's face. No, that's just not going to cut it. Amon didn't understand what he meant by that, but when he saw the blonde bringing his arm back he pieced it together. This bastard, he can't be. But he was. Naruto brought his arm forward again, where he shot the ball right for the basket. Amon's hand was unable to catch up in time, and so the ball went in uncontested. Naruto scored. The audience started cheering again, amazed by what they had just seen. "You have to be kidding me," a shocked Furuhata said from his seat. "What he did just now." Kuroko slowly nodded. "Yes. Uzumaki-kun pulled off a formless shot against Amon-kun. In his match against Kai's, Naruto had done the same thing. But at the time, it looked clumsy and kind of awkward. But now, it is more refined. The shot had been done with the utmost confidence. With that sort of mindset, there was no way it wasn't going in. But scoring a shot like that on Amon of all people, Haika trailed off. He was too in awe to be able to speak right now. That mentally rang true for the players in TMM too. They hadn't been expecting a move like that to work. Not against Amon. "They're crazy in more ways than one," Kasumatsu said as he slapped Naruto in the back. "God damn it, that hurts, Captain." The blonde flinched. The older teen had some strength in him. "But it's only if you're crazy that you can win," Moriyama said as he smiled. "That about sums it up." Kobori nodded. Eyes chuckled. "Honestly. You still surprise me, Izumaki." "I don't want to hear that from you, Kai's," Naruto shot back. He then frowned. "Besides, you're the one who. There's no need to worry about me." Kai's turned his back to him. "You just keep doing what you're doing. I'll get there soon enough." Naruto continued to frown, but said nothing else. If that's what Kai's had decided, then so be it. He would support it. But TMM, Imeashi walked over to the still Amon, who was just looking up at the basket. "Amon, what just?" "I don't have time for your questions right now." Amon turned to look at Naruto with a wide grin. "Just give me the ball. The fun's about to start." "You bastard, do you have any what?" "Wakamatsu." Imeashi stopped at the center. "Just do as he says." "But Captain. Or do you think you can take on Uzumaki yourself?" That made Wakamatsu go quiet. He already knew he couldn't. He still scowled, though. "We really can't let our guard down in this game," Imeashi thought with a mental sigh. He hadn't thought this would be an easy game, but this was already proving to be tougher than they had expected. What a pain. The ball was live again soon after, and it went straight to Amon. Naruto was already on him, the two ready to face each other again. Arasawa played with one of his locks, his brow furrowed. "This is not what we planned for." Next to him, Momoi was in agreement. She was sure it was Kai's who would be leading the attack and defense on Amon, not Naruto. But all he was doing was sticking close to Susa. Was he trying to let Naruto win the game for them? No, that couldn't be it. Kai's pride wouldn't allow it. So what then? It was at this point that Momoi noticed Kai's eyes. He was staring intently at Naruto and Amon. Almost like he was examining them. But that couldn't be right. He couldn't be trying to. Fully determined, Amon charged forward. He did a quick left, with Naruto sticking on him undeterred. This was followed by a quick spin from Amon, which Naruto was still able to keep up with. This didn't dissuade Amon from continuing with his charge, though, as he did a crossover, followed by a second one. Through all of this, Naruto was somehow able to keep up with the ace. It was unbelievable for all those watching. Such rapid movements like this. Does Uzumaki have experience with streetball? Kagami thought, amazed by Naruto's reaction time. He knew it was something he still couldn't do, which just frustrated him further. Despite the excellent defense from Naruto's part, Amon still kept pressing forward. This led to the two steering to one of the corners of the court without realizing it. "Yeah." Moriyama cheered. "There's no way Amon will be able to." Moving just as fast as ever, Amon did a quick spin to face the basket, at which point he threw the ball from the corner of the court. Naruto went for the jump to defend, but he knew he wasn't going to make it. He wasn't able to react appropriately this time. Even at such an awkward angle and at a weird position, the ball still made it in. The audience's cheer grew at this showing. "That's, like, impossible," Yuki thought, astonished. She couldn't believe someone could shoot like that and still score. Amon smirked as he clenched his hand. "Don't think you can stop me with such a half-hearted defense. You have to come at me with the intent to kill. Anything else isn't going to cut it." Naruto growled but kept his mouth shut. Talking back would be pointless. That had been his loss. But this just meant he was going to have to pay him back. Bound to do as much, Naruto was in possession of the ball again, and Amon was right there to face him. Naruto went in, and to Amon's surprise, the blonde was faster this time. But that surprise didn't last long as Amon's speed increased as well, the two reacting perfectly one to another. It was a deadlock between the two powerful players. This made some wonder if Naruto was going to try another formless shot again, as in that would be the surefire way to score on Amon. But that didn't prove to be the case, as Naruto dribbled the ball through his legs for a quick crossover that had him in the perfect position for his favorite move. And that is, to dunk. That ain't gonna work on me. Amon screams as he jumps right as Naruto jumps. Asamatsu gritted his teeth when he saw this. Damn it. He's going to stop him. By all accounts, he was right. Amon was in the perfect position to stop Naruto's dunk. But that didn't happen. Instead, Naruto pulled off another impressive play. He managed to dunk right through Amon, knocking his hand out of the way like it wasn't even there to begin with. Amon ched. This guy. He had more power than Amon had expected. That's insane. He dunked through Amon, the ace. Yeah. The two are going head to head. There's no telling who's going to come out on top. These were the comments flying through the audience as they cheered even louder. Seeing Naruto and Amon face each other like this was exhilarating. Naruto and Amon both fell back to the floor, glaring at one another. On the bench, Nakamura had one hand over his chest as he let out a sigh. Honestly, that caught me by surprise. I didn't think Uzumaki was going to do that. The coach's eyes were narrowed, but otherwise he said nothing. Yuki was quiet too, but she was staring right at Naruto. She was still a newbie when it came to sports, but that had nothing to do with her understanding of Naruto. They had known each other for almost a year now. In that time, Naruto had told her many things. And one of those things was his personal fear toward his power. It made him think that he could destroy anyone because of it. And due to that fear, Yuki always suspected that Naruto was suppressing all that strength he had in him, probably without realizing it. That had started to change after facing Kai's. And now. It feels great, Yuki, he had told her when they had been walking home after practice one day. It's amazing not having to hold back so much all the time. And if the rest of the generation of miracles are like Kai's, I might be able to go even harder. He had looked so excited when he had told her that. Yuki had wanted to hug him right then and there. And what she was seeing now. Is he able to release more of his strength now? Because he was facing such a tough opponent, is that what was happening? Momoe was able to see the same thing. She had tried to make many predictions about Naruto's growth so that the team could use it to try and stop him. But with this, it was clear that was meaningless. If he was able to knock Amon away like that, then the others would not be able to do anything. "Ha, Izumakiki, you're incredible," Kai's muttered to himself. Once again, he was reminded of the first time he had watched Amon play. That sense of admiration truly made him exuberant all over again. That's why he squashed that feeling down. The match continued. For the four other TMM players on the court, it felt like they had just been running back and forth during the whole first quarter. You could understand how annoying it must feel to be treated like side players. Like they didn't matter. If that's what it took to win, Imeashi didn't really mind. This was a battle against a generation of miracles, after all. It was bound to happen. Wakamatsu was a different story. You think we're just going to sit on the sidelines forever, huh? Naruto, who was in possession of the ball again, simply stared at the taller center who was now on him. He had practically taken to defending him by force this time around. The blonde also noticed Sakurai quickly approaching in the back. So they were trying to double team him, huh? They probably thought he wasn't going to pass to his teammates, like Amon. Don't make me laugh, Kasamatsu thought as he saw this. It's not about friendship. There's only one course of action. And we all understand this. Moriyama, Kobori, and Kai's were in agreement. Destroy them. Smirking, Naruto did a simple rush to the left, pumping much of his power to his legs to increase his speed. And it worked. Wakamatsu was far too slow to even attempt to block him. "If you're not Amon, you can't stop me," he said as Sakurai ran to stop him this time. It was the same result really. Naruto simply dashed past him with so much speed that Sakurai wasn't able to do anything about it. This is insane. The apologetic shooter thought. It's just like Amon-san. But that kind of speed, there was no way they could stop the blonde. Heck, it was almost like they weren't even on the court. And so, Naruto was free to dunk the ball in their basket. Slam it in. Everyone else shouted. It's exactly what Naruto intended to do, but that didn't end up happening. Why? Because Amon arrived at the last moment to knock the ball out of Naruto's hand before he could score. "Amon-san," Sakurai said in relief, glad to see that the ball hadn't gone in. That would have made their position worse, something they didn't need right now. Naruto clicked his teeth together in annoyance, while Amon smirked. "Don't start forgetting about me, Uzumaki. I'm different from the rest. That kind of shot won't work on me." The ball went out of bounds, but that mattered very little to the blonde right now. Being blocked like this was annoying, but against Amon it was just something that was bound to happen. If he wanted to score, he was going to need more power. "Don't worry about it," Moriyama said, as Naruto fell back with the others. That was a nice attempt. Eyes gave him a thumbs up. Pretty sweet, Izumakiki. So cheesy. But nevertheless, Naruto did smile. Being part of a team like this was fun. With Maeashi prepared to throw the ball back in as Wakamatsu approached him. "Captain, you gotta move the ball around more. At this rate. Don't start saying nonsense," Amon cut in with a glare. "What did I tell you? Pass me the ball. I finally have a real opponent. Don't get in my way." Wakamatsu looked ready to murder someone right about now. And that someone was probably Amon. Maeashi sighed, feeling mentally exhausted already. True. If we passed more, it would be easier to get around Uzumaki's defense. But for that to work, they would need Amon to cooperate with them. Basically, for him to start acting like he was on a team rather than playing alone. But Amon would never do that. He would never pass. It just wasn't like him. There was also Kai's to consider. The other blonde hadn't been doing anything all throughout the first quarter, but sticking close to his mark, which just made Maeashi uneasy. What was Kajim thinking? What was their strategy? Well, there was less than a minute left in the first quarter, and they were tied. They needed to make this play count. Naruto and the others all prepared themselves for the counterattack, and just like before, it was Amon who was leading the attack. Which meant there was only one thing for them to do. Have Naruto stop him. "What the hell is all this?" Kagami said to the others as they watched this. "Why is only Uzumaki going against Amon? Is Kai's not going to do anything?" Kuroko frowned again. He thought he had a pretty good guess as to what Kai's was waiting for, but it was still too early to tell. "It's still only the first quarter," Kiyoshi said in return. "A lot can still change. Besides, Uzumaki has been pretty effective against Amon so far. If something works, there's no reason to change it." That was the gist of it. It just made Kagami unhappy to see Kai's playing like this. He knew Kai's was better than this. Below, Amon stared at the blonde before him who was in a relaxed defensive stance. It was the same stance he had taken this whole time. Amon knew why. It offered the Uzumaki the best mobility and reaction time for his moves. It's exactly what Amon wanted from his opponent. Amon charged the same way he had all throughout the first quarter, with his amazing speed and quick moves. Naruto kept on him, no matter what Amon tried to pull. This only motivated Amon further, and the Tant player jumped back with his two hands on the ball. He leaned back, his whole body nearly parallel to the floor of the court. It was plain to see what he was going for. It was his fadeaway jump shot, which Kagami had been unable to do anything against in his match against Amon. "There it is," Kagane exclaimed as he leaned in closer. "It's that shot again." Kagami's body trembled. What was Naruto going to do about this? "Don't mock me." Naruto launched into the air with incredible force, and this time he jumped higher than he had ever before. It was because of this that he was able to slam the ball back down the moment Amon threw it, performing the perfect block. A block not even Kagami had been able to pull off. It was here that Amon felt more startled and more amazed than he had ever before. And he wasn't alone in that. Up in the audience, Midorima's eyes went wide. He blocked a perfectly executed shot from Amon. This was the first time Midorima saw something like this. No one should be able to block that kind of shot. It could be called something of a miracle. No way Maeashi felt something akin to goosebumps right now. And with good reason. Getting into a high enough position to block a shot from Amon, was this guy even human? As for Naruto, he leveled another glare upon Amon. "You don't have the time to take it easy. Not with me. You got that." Amon's whole body shook in anger now. "Bastard." Kagane leaned back in his seat, breathless. Unbelievable, not even Kagami was able to block that shot. Next to him, the quiet Midab silently nodded his head in agreement. Kagami wanted to hit something right now. He was that frustrated. He didn't want to think he was weak. But with what he was seeing right now, it was easy to get dissuaded. Kuroko simply kept watching on, enthralled by the game. Would Amon actually lose here? That thought was beginning to take hold in his mind. No, this game has just started. There was no way Amon would lose. Not from this. The coach on side-eyed the clock. There were about 25 seconds left in the quarter and counting. He too was shocked right now, but that couldn't let that slow down the team. They needed to stop Kajim's advance, here and now. The rest of all took up defensive positions, sticking close to their mark. But they knew it was pointless as Naruto moved forward with the ball. Only one person had a chance here. Amon stood in Naruto's path, looking more serious and more determined than he had before. The air around him had shifted. It was clear that he wasn't taking this lightly. Not anymore. "So you're finally going in hard, huh?" Naruto thought. He glanced over to the clock to see that it was down to 10 seconds. He could try to get around at that time, but it would be cutting it close. Especially against Amon. He smirked. Oh, well. Amon's eyes narrowed when he saw what Naruto was trying to do. He jumped into the air at the same time Naruto did, ready to pay him back for the earlier block. Except Naruto wasn't going for the shot. No, he was going for a pass. The fake Ammon thought when Naruto lowered his hand. It was the last thing he had been expecting the blonde to do, which is why Ammon was caught completely off guard. Everyone else in TMM felt the same way. Why was the blonde passing now? The pass was made to Moriyama, who caught the ball with no difficulty. Shaking out of his stupor, Sakurai rushed to mount his defense against Kagem shooter. But he was too slow for that, and Moriyama launched his irregular shot with no problem. What kind of form is that? Sakurai thought with wide eyes as he watched the ball go into the basket for a buzzer beater. He couldn't understand it at all. Moriyama's form was just too weird. But it was effective. That couldn't be denied. The three-pointer was good, which broke the tie just at the end of the first quarter. Kagem was ahead, 25-22. They had managed to take the first quarter against TMM, something Saren had failed to do in their game, even with Ammon absent from the game. This was a fact none of the Saren players missed. Ammon turned to Naruto with confusion. You don't think we're the same? Naruto cut him off. Unlike you, I have no problem relying on my teammates at moments like this. That's why you couldn't predict my move. That's what makes us different. Is that so? Confusion left Ammon's face, which was replaced by anger and determination. He said nothing else as he turned to his bench where the rest of his team was. The 2-minute break had just started, after all. But he would be back for more. Naruto watched him go until Moriyama came in and patted him in the back. Thanks for that. It felt great shooting that final shot. Naruto grinned in return. Yeah, happy to help. The other three looked back and shook their heads, amused. Let's go, you idiots, Kasumatsu said as he led them off the court. This battle isn't over yet. Yeah, it was still only the beginning. That was tiring, Naruto said as he practically fell on Yuki's lap. I haven't played this hard since I beat Kai's. That was a tie, and you know it. Kai's shouted from where he sat. Naruto ignored him. Yuki shot the boy a smile as she gave him his water bottle. Oh, please. You're a terrible liar. We all know you're enjoying yourself. You can't hide how you really feel, Naruto-kun. Is that so? Naruto opened his mouth as Yuki began to feed him some of the lemon slices she had prepared the night before, just for him. Moriyama shook in jealousy. Why is it always him, damn it? He wanted that treatment. You don't have to cry, Moriyama-san. Hayakawa tried to be encouraging, but no one could understand him still. Heck, his gibberish was getting worse. But that tended to happen when he was overly excited, like now. The coach looked at his team, feeling proud. We've been doing well so far. However, I'm not convinced that this is enough to win. You can say that again. Kai's glanced over to where Ammon was sitting. But the boy had a towel draped around his neck, so it was hard to tell what kind of expression he was making right now. Anger. Worry. Enthusiasm. Kasumatsu gulped down the rest of his water before looking at Kai's. What about you? How are things on your end? Smiling, Kai's answered, I'm more than ready. Thanks to Izumakiki's big showing, I have enough. The Bori sighed in relief. That's good to know. I was starting to get worried. What was that, senpai? Naruto said, sounding a bit put off. You think I couldn't do this alone? That's not what I meant at all. Kabori quickly replied. It's just better to take all precautions. In case something big happens. You know. Naruto would have argued more, but the way Yuki was running her hands through his hair was more than enough to pacify him. She already knew where all his weak spots were. I really want to punch him, the jealous Moriyama said with a shaking fist. You, circa an apostrophe t do t hot mori yamasan. Not, before me. Kasumatsu facepalmed. This team was just too much sometimes. Moriyama wasn't the only jealous player. Up on the second floor, Kawahara was crying tears of pure rage and envy. Why? Why is it always someone else? Next to him, Fukuda and Furuhata were thinking the same thing, also in tears. First, it was Kuroko with Momoi. The dullest guy they knew had such a girl going after him. And now, it was Naruto with that purple-haired girl. And her boobs were just as big as Momoi's. Even with the team jacket she wore, they could still notice the big lumps of flesh jiggle ever so often. It was such a cruel sight for them. Agane folded his arms and did his best to remain upbeat about the situation. But it was hard to do. He wanted to be pampered like that too. Raiko's eyebrow twitched at this. She could practically hear the thoughts from the idiots above her. Why did all the girls that showed up around here have big boobs? Was life trying to mess with her or something? Stupid sacks of fat. The first quarter didn't go the way I expected, Kagami suddenly said. Unlike the other four, he wasn't swayed by Yuki's beauty. He was more focused on the game. Does Kai's think that he doesn't have to do anything against Ammon? That's not it at all, Kuroko spoke up. I believe Kai's-kun is fighting too, in his own way. He also trusts Uzumaki-kun. That's why he was able to entrust the first quarter to him. Kagami didn't get it. What does that mean? It wasn't Kuroko that answered, but Raiko. It means that Kai's is more than likely trying to copy Amon's moves. What? Kagami shouted, totally not expecting that answer. Biashi hummed. So that's what it is. A lot of things would start making sense if that was the case. But I thought Kai's couldn't copy the generation of miracles. Haika asked, unsure. Yes, in Team, Kai's kun was always unable to copy what the others could do. Kuroko looked down to Kai's, who was smiling at something Maruyama was saying. However, he was able to copy Uzumaki-kun's moves just fine in their practice match. And you have all seen what he can do. He has the same style as Amon-kun. They're both erratic and they let their power burst out of their bodies like a bomb. You can't be sure of what they're going to do until after they've done it, and by that point it's already too late to stop them. Yeah, but not even Uzumaki is moving like he was before. Kagami glared down at Naruto, who was oblivious to all of this. This makes his performance against Kai's look like a joke. Yes, that's precisely why Kai's kun is taking his time, Kuroko explained. Otherwise, if he went up against Amon-kun, as he is, he'd lose. That's what he was able to learn after facing Amon-kun at the beginning of the quarter. Aika caught on now. So that's why he's not doing anything. He wants to make sure his copy is perfect before taking on Amon. That's right. However, Kuroko's eyes shifted to Amon. Amon-kun always gets stronger the tougher his opponent is. He plays with more focus, and his skills intensify. I'm not sure if Uzumaki-kun and Kai's kun are going to be able to keep up with that. So it was like that. Who was going to buckle first? Perhaps the second quarter would decide that. It seems our children are pretty close, Haiji. Said man placed a hand over his forehead to rein in his rage at what he was seeing. Yes, it would appear so, ma'am. It's quite jovial, isn't it? Ichiko was amused by the man's reaction. He was very protective of his daughter. So the fact that Naruto was this close to her was really getting to him. I never thought basketball games could be this exciting, Hiroji remarked in awe. Your son is amazing, Kagesama. The woman raised her head with pride. But of course. I wouldn't expect any less from him. Is that so? So do you think he's going to win? Hiroji asked. That's tough to tell right now. Ig placed a hand under his chin. From what we've seen, neither team is going 100% yet. They've just left it up to their respective star players to do all the legwork. But that can't last forever. Soon, that balance will break. The team that isn't able to recover from that will most definitely be the loser today. Ichiko and Hiroji were both looking at him like he had grown a second head. He stared back, confused. What? Is there something on my face? Hiroji slowly shook his head. It's not that. It's just Ig-san, you know basketball. Oh. That. Blushing a bit, the man readjusted his tie and said, I played some back in my college years. That's all. Whoa. Hiroji never would have guessed. He always pictured the older man to be above sports. Ichiko smiled and said, my Naruto would never fall under pressure. If anything, that's when he's at his best. That's why she was certain he would win today. What are we going to do about this? It was Wakamatsu who asked the most prudent question for them. If we just leave it all to Amon. How many times are you going to say the same damn thing? Amon didn't bother to raise his head, but his words carried his mood just fine. Don't interfere with my play, you dumbus. Is that hard to understand? Having had enough, Wakamatsu stood up from the bench and pointed at Amon in anger. When are you going to stop thinking about yourself and realize you're not the only one playing out there, huh? Did you not hear what Momoi just said? Kai's is trying to copy your moves. You can't even handle Uzumaki by yourself. If Kai's joins in, then. I can't do what now? Amon did lift his head this time. He did this so that he could level a glare so intense on the center that it made him freeze. Don't get the wrong idea, you fool. I can't take him on. What are you even saying? The only one who can beat me is me. It doesn't matter what they do. That's not going to change the outcome. Imeashi looked away with a sigh. This was going as well as he expected. Which was not well at all. Momoi was looking away as well. She had already explained to them the reason for Kai's lack of involvement in the first quarter. It wouldn't take that long for him to fully copy Amon's style. She predicted that he would be ready by the third quarter at the earliest. If that happened, they would be in serious trouble. That's why they needed to push forward in the second quarter. They needed to have a big enough lead to where Kagami couldn't keep up, even with Kai's on the court. But Amon refused to listen. He was still going to play his own way. That left them with little options. The break was quickly coming to an end and Imeashi stood up with the rest of the team. We have to do what we can. They couldn't let Kagami get any further ahead. That would just make things harder for them in the second half. Amon was the last one to stand up, but his presence was stronger than any of the others. He was more than ready. Momoi watched him go, her eyes brimming with dejection. Amon-kun. Why couldn't the idiot listen to her for once? There was nothing else she could do but watch, however. The second quarter is here now. The players from both teams took their places as the crowd began to cheer again. They were more than set to keep watching the match unfold. That was how much excitement Naruto and Amon had been able to spark with their one-on-ones. None of the TMM players were surprised to see Naruto still marking Amon. There was no reason for Kagem to change their strategy when it was working so well. No, it was TMM that needed to think of something here. But without Amon willing to listen to them. Imeashi nearly scowled as the ball was made live again, which officially started the second quarter. With quickness in their steps, TMM began to move the ball around but without passing it to Amon. Oh? The coach had one hand covering his mouth. So they're trying to get around Uzumaki, huh? However. The ball reached Sakurai, who was in a good position to shoot. Which he did. He was still as quick as ever, but Moriyama, who didn't want to be outdone by his junior, let out a determined shout as he jumped to block the ball. Sakurai's quick shooting made it hard, but he was still able to get some of his fingers to touch the airborne ball. That was enough to make sure the shot failed. Impossible. Sakurai thought with wide eyes. The ball hit the rim and it went for a rebound. Both Wakamatsu and Kobori went for it, and it was Kobori who came out victorious in their battle after making sure to get in a better jumping position than Wakamatsu. Fuck. Wakamatsu cursed, angry that Kobori had bested him again. Not wasting any time, Kobori threw the ball to the center of the court where Naruto was waiting to catch it. However, don't think the rest of the team isn't prepared to win, the coach finished in his head, smiling to himself. Get back. Imeashi yelled to the others as Naruto dribbled past the center line. Imeashi realized that catching up to Naruto now was impossible. But that was only true for them. Not Amon, who was already standing in front of the Uzumaki, his face full of resolve. It was another one-on-one battle between them. Naruto knew this was different from the first quarter, though. In a sense, it could be called the awakening of the beast. That's how different Amon was now compared to before. This was shown to everyone else when Amon suddenly tipped the ball from Naruto's hand before the blonde was able to do anything about it. It's a steal. Kagami cried out, shocked to see that Naruto had been that careless. Or was it that Amon was that better now? He didn't know, but it proved to be irrelevant. Why? Because Naruto wasn't facing Amon alone. Not anymore. The moment Amon grasped the freed ball, it was suddenly slapped out of his hold. Not by Naruto, though. But by Kai's, who had all of a sudden mixed himself in with the play. Susa was trying to keep up, but it was clear that he was too slow to do anything about it. And in that instant when Kai's moved in to intercept Amon, Susa saw it. He saw a second Amon. Imeashi saw it too, and he had to grit his teeth in frustration. His worst fear had come to pass. Kai's was able to copy Amon. The ball flew back to Naruto's hand again, with the blonde smiling. Imeashi saw another truth here. He knew that was coming. Is that why he didn't react to Amon stealing the ball from him? Naruto pressed on forward, but Amon recovered and ran to stop him. He went in to try and steal the ball again, but Naruto saw this coming. He dribbled the ball back through his legs, going in for a low pass. This made sure Amon wasn't able to get it. No, rather the ball went straight to Kai's hands, who was closely following the two. Amon looked back with wide eyes, but he wasn't going to be beaten here. The only one who could beat him was him. No one else. Don't get ahead of yourself, Kai's. Amon quickly spun around to stop Kai's, who was getting into a shooting motion. He's even faster than the first quarter. Izuki shouted out, completely taken back by Amon's increase in skill. Kai smiled. It's already too late, Ayamaneki. Amon didn't bother thinking about what those words meant. He simply jumped to stop the shot, but Kai's abandoned his shooting motion and returned to his dribbling position. It was a perfect fake. And those moves. That agility, there's no doubt about it, a wide-eyed Haika thought. Scowling, Amon took off running for Kai's the moment he was back on the ground, proving his own agility and speed. But Kai's already knew this. He believed Amon could keep up with him. It made little difference, though. Amon popped back up in front of Kai's with his arm stretched out, ready to stop Kai's shot for a second time. Like I already said, Ayamaneki, you're too late. Kai shot the ball, except that it wasn't for the basket. Amon watched as the ball flew to the side of the rim right where Naruto was. He had jumped perfectly to catch Kai's pass, and he dunked the ball for an alley-oop. It went without saying that the cheering intensified after this play. That Imeashi was at a loss for words right now. I can't believe it. Momoi stared at Kai's with wide eyes. He was able to copy Amon-kun. And so soon. Far sooner than she had predicted. Ah, you underestimated us, Four Eyes. Imeashi turned around to see Kasamatsu looking at him. Did you really think it was going to take Kai's the whole first half to catch up to Amon? Don't make me laugh. He's not that weak. Next to him, both Moriyama and Kabori smiled in agreement. Imeashi was unable to respond. He was still trying to come to terms with this development. Boy, if Kai's can do that. Kagami trailed off, but the others around him understood what he was trying to say. Naruto was one thing, but both of the blondes together? Amon couldn't handle them both, not on his own. So it was just, as Kuroko said, Kiyoshi said. This is what Kai's was aiming for all along. Even though it hurt his pride to step aside and let Naruto handle Amon by himself, he was still able to push that aside in order to get to this moment. Kuroko knew that the old Kai's would have never agreed to a plan like this. It was his new conviction to fight alongside his team rather than alone, which had allowed him to get this far. No, it's not just Kai's-kun. That conviction was shared by the other three. They had put their utmost trust in Naruto and Kai's while they did their best to support them. And now, it is paying off. Kuroko was more than impressed. He was happy. Happy to see that Kai's was truly relying on his teammates. What do you think, Ayamaneki? Kai said, as he and Naruto stood next to one another. Did I not tell you that we were going to fight together? It might have taken me a while to get here, but now that I'm going to make sure you have the worst time possible. Naruto raised his fist. We're going to crush you. Amon just smirked, but it was clear that he was on edge. You little. From now on, it was going to be Kagem at full force and they were going to win. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.